Sorry for starting a couple minutes late. I just had to finish off something quickly. I updated my Medium. I just wrote something new regarding Freemasonry and my trip to beautiful Cape Town, South Africa. So if you've not got the chance to yet, please read about my trip to Cape Town, South Africa on Medium, particularly the things I learned from that trip, which I think is incredibly important. Wherever I'm traveling, I always try to take in lessons that I can apply to my Masonic experience and that I can share with others. Sometimes it can be a specific lesson, like an action I can take or an action we should take in Freemasonry. Sometimes, very often, it can simply be an insight that I gleaned. So check those out. Follow me on Medium. Excuse me. And let's wait to see who joins. What I'm going to talk about today at 1 after the first 60 minutes is going to be a focus on my trip, what I learned, and what I think we in Freemasonry can take from it. But that's after the first 60 minutes. The first 60 minutes is me just hanging out, waiting to see who joins, and anything I'm going to talk about when it comes to Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. We're just going to hang out and chat. So let's wait to see who joins. And yeah, nothing but respect to Cape Town for an awesome, awesome place. I'm doing well, Droll de Camp, and how are you doing? I hope that you're doing well also. Thank you for being here. I hope you're having an excellent day. And let's give it some time and see who jumps on. If you don't follow me on Medium, I hope that you will consider following me on Medium. I write about Freemasonry. It's a great platform. I love it. I've actually applied to speak at Medium Day 2026, so we'll see. You can find me there. Chillin' is good. On a break is good. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you taking some of your break to join. It's one of those things where, when you're working, your break is very precious. So the fact that you would choose to spend it here with me and not anywhere else is truly appreciated. Don't forget, you can also find me and support me on Medium if you get the chance, as well as Patreon and different sites. I'm doing well. How are you doing? So I still got to get you your coin because I know I still have it. We just have to find the time to get it to you. Because you didn't get it, which is unfortunate. I double checked. I mailed it in April. So I know you got the postcards. But I wish we could have got the chance to get that coin to you. You have to swing by the Masonic Temple at some point. Right, for the coffee club, because that would work out the best. You can grab a coffee. It's just $2 for bottomless cup. And, I'll get you your coin there. Or I could just go and drop it off in person, since apparently you can't trust the post office. No rush, my son been sick. That sucks that he is sick. I hope he feels better. And Spirit, welcome. Thank you for being here. I hope that you are doing well also. Thank you for joining. I hope you'll take a moment, hit the like and subscribe button. If you're new to the stream, if you're not new to the stream, but you've been here before, thank you for being back here once again. I'm grateful. I'm going to talk about my trip to South Africa again after the first 60 minutes, but this first 60 minutes, we're just going to hang out, chat about whatever. Life is busy for all of us, so I get it. If you can make it, great. If you can't, that's no worries. Part of it is also, it's convenient for me because that way I can just give you the coin in person. I don't have to, mail it and deal with that. So there's also a little bit of self-interest engaged in that as well. Hector Salamanca. Do Freemasons believe in Jesus? Some Masons believe in Jesus. Some Masons are Muslims. Some Masons are Christians. Some Masons are Jewish. Freemasonry is not a religion, so there is no particular belief, but we have many Christian Freemasons who do believe in Jesus. I mean, and for the record, like other religions believe in Jesus as well, just in different ways. But if you mean believe in Jesus in Lord and Savior and Son of God, yeah, there are certain Masons who do if they're Christian, right? So, Hector, you need to remember Freemasonry is not in and of itself a religion. We're going to give it some time. We're going to wait to see who joins. Again, the first 60 minutes, I don't have any specific talking points. I just hang out and chat about whatever. It's the second 60 minutes that I have the specific talking points. So let's see who joins. There was, yes, for the World Conference of Regular Grand Lodges. It was a blast. I loved it. And South Africa is a beautiful place, without question. I mean, I can speak particularly about Cape Town. Thought Cape Town was truly beautiful, so I loved being there. It was wonderful. It was awesome. A beautiful place, incredibly beautiful people. Very kind, very nice, very generous. Some really cool scenery. Reminds you a lot about Freemasonry and certain Masonic history components to it. So it was really cool. It was fun. It was exhausting. I was super busy because it was basically equal amount of time in the air, flying, and in layovers as there was in South Africa itself. No, I was in Cape Town. I've never been to South Africa except for my recent trip, and that was to Cape Town. So believe me, I was feeling it. It was wonderful. I loved it, but I'm feeling a little bit of the jet lag, and I might have some more travel tomorrow as well. So we'll see. I did not do a safari. I got in. I went to a Masonic conference. I went to sleep. I got up. I went to visit Masonic temples and stayed up late with some people partying. Went to sleep, woke up, saw a couple more Masonic things, then jumped on a plane and it made it right back to Windsor. And it was a 46-hour trip altogether in terms of the flights coming back because it was Cape Town to Doha, Qatar to New York, New York to Windsor, and there was a 13-hour, sorry, there was a 9-hour and an 11-hour layover between the two. So I was feeling it, believe me. It was an awesome experience overall. I did love it very much. I thought it was incredible. It was a blast, and I gleaned a few insights and some lessons, which again I shared on Medium, and I plan to share here as well. So, but that's out of the first 60 minutes. We'll give it a bit of time for now. Wait to see who joins. What's going on, Pablo? Thank you for being here. Hope you're doing well. Take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button, and let me know if you're having a good day. It's incredibly important, I think, getting to meet brothers in a different place and a different location, a different place, a different setting. It really does help you. It helps put Freemasonry in a different perspective, which is so important. We need to have multiple perspectives on Freemasonry, unless it becomes stale. Pablo, we are live streaming. We are talking about Freemasonry. So any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, let me know. We got about an hour before I start on my main topic, which is going to be my trip to South Africa. That is for no situations, son of Sammy Davis, and you know that. You're just being dumb. There is no sacrificing of limbs in Freemasonry. There's no sacrificing of anything except for time. Which, in fairness, we do have to sacrifice our time. And you could say time is the most precious thing we have. But that's because if you want to be part of anything, a requirement is to sacrifice your time. Um, I'm sorry about that, Dad. I mean, maybe there's a mistake on your phone right now. Technology doesn't work all the time perfectly. So try again tomorrow, see what happens. Um, maybe it's just a one-time thing. I would love to visit Albania. I would love to. I consider myself in some ways a professional traveler. Never been to Albania, but I'd love to get there. Is there a lot of masonry in Albania? Yeah, that's true. Everybody does, everybody within Freemasonry has their own view of what it is and how it operates and how it works. So that's absolutely the case. Um, that everybody has their own view, and hearing those views and perspectives is incredibly important if we want to see Freemasonry grow, right? If we all have exclusively start and end with our own perspective, that's not going to be helpful um, overall because Freemasonry is going to get stale. When you say lovely place, Pablo, you mean Albania? I don't think I've had anybody on the stream from Albania before. You're new to the stream, right? Pablo? I don't think I recognize your name. And again, if you are new, hit like, hit subscribe. And we're going to give it some time and just wait to see who joins. What would you say is the most beautiful thing in Albania? Like if you had to pick one place, if I ever were to visit, again, have no idea, but if you had to pick one place to visit, where would it be? Um, or where should I visit if I go to Albania? Immortal observer within, I'm a druid. I mean, I don't know much about kind of druidic faith, but my assumption is there's a belief in a supreme being of some sort. So I'm sure you could join. I'm not a big fan of discussing Freemasonry as a spiritual practice. There are some people who may take spiritual comfort from Freemasonry in the same way some people take spiritual comfort from their favorite song or their favorite movie or whatever it might be. But ultimately, I don't know if I would describe it in a spiritual context. I mean, Freemasonry, it can't really be used for dark purposes. Um, it's not really that type of entity, right? Like I'm not sure how you could use Freemasonry for a dark purpose. It doesn't seem like it's the type of thing that could be used in that way. Um, because it's inherently about community and about groups of people getting together and supporting one another, which is kind of intrinsically positive. Um, I mean, yeah, there is clandestine masonry, which, I mean, certainly, for example, when somebody claims to be a Freemason and then uses that claim to scam other people out of money, which happens through clandestine lodges, for example, without question, that can result in a bad look for Freemasonry as a whole, right? There's no doubt about that. I mean, I would have to learn their language then because I love street food, Pablo. So that sounds incredible. 67 is not a significant number in Freemasonry of any sort. Um, I don't know what the 67 number is even all about. It seems like this weird millennial thing. Um, I'm solving murders. Freemasons don't murder anybody. That's not what Freemasonry is all about. So, Gov Buster, you are wasting your time looking up nonsense. Which probably, in my humble opinion, you are doing so because wasting time looking up a bunch of opinions on nonsense is better than having to actually look in the mirror and deal with your own problems in your life, is my suspicion. you are misinformed about Druids. We don't worship a god or deity. There's no, I mean, okay, so I don't know much about Druidic faith. Apparently Dominus says you worship Woden. What I would say is, in my experience, like I've known Wiccan Freemasons, Wiccan, and to my understanding, the Wiccan faith and Druidic faith share a lot of similarities. So if there are, Freemasons who are Wiccan, I'm sure there could be some who are Druids as well. It would not shock me. Sherry Blair Witch, welcome. Thank you for being here. Sherry Blair Witch. I like the Blair Witch movies. I think you're new to the stream, so please take a moment, hit like and subscribe. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasons. Well, Druids, that's more from the Goths, right? That's like Germany, um, France, like the areas that the ancient Romans were pushing into in the, in the 1, 2, 300s AD. Tina, I mean, it is true. Everybody wants a revolution. No one wants to do the dishes. You need both. You need to be able to take care of yourself and your responsibilities on a personal level. But I think the danger is if you focus so much on fixing yourself and getting yourself to a place that you feel good, there's always more work to be done on yourself, right? It's always a situation where, unfortunately, we're never going to get to a point in our lives where we're perfect. We're never going to get to a point in our lives where we've got it all figured out. And if our attitude is we're not going to try to make any big changes in life until we first and foremost, get our own house in order, we may never get to a point where we feel our house is in order well enough to try to make any big societal changes. Like if I focus exclusively on getting myself in shape and in good order before I talked about trying to make Freemasonry better, I would never talk about the latter because there's always more to improve. There's always more to be better at. So I think we need to find a balance. Never stop working on ourselves, but also accept the fact that we'll never get to a place of perfection, and we shouldn't use that as an excuse to not try and make the world a better place or work on big societal issues. What is the time for me? It is 13:24. It is 1:24. We don't have the spaceship yet. I'm still working on it, though, I promise. It's a cross of Celtic. I don't know what the Cheddarite culture is. That is true. Tina Moran, and by the way, Tina Moran, thank you for being here. As always, please take a moment, hit that like button and subscribe button if you are new to this stream. If you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, please let me know. Positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear it. I was born in England, an Anglo-Saxon. Dad is an Anglo-Saxon. That is true. I mean, let's hope so. Like the Earth will go on without a doubt. I mean, the Earth is going to keep going for a long time. The question is, are we going to do what we can to make sure that the Earth continues to be a positive place for us to live and for life in general, right? That's the question. Like yesterday, I discovered was International Plastic Free Day. I'm a big believer in trying to limit our use of plastic, especially single-use plastic, and there are ways we can go about doing that. There are ways that Freemasons can go about doing that as well, and I did talk about that, so. Neutral until I see the spaceship. There's no pure anything, right? I think, Dominus, I think that's a very good point to keep in mind. We all come from different places, different things, I mean, if you go back far enough, our families come from everywhere, right? Like, your parents may be Canadian and your grandparents may be Canadian, but your great-grandparents may come from somewhere else. I think one of the things I don't like seeing nowadays is on social media, some people seem to have this weird obsession with like, I'm a pure this, I'm a pure that. Just be human, Right? Just be human. Just be a human being. That's good enough. It doesn't necessarily matter what type of human you are. Just be a human. Try to care about the people around you, and just focus on that. Anyone heard? I mean, I know about Gnosticism. It's a Greek word that means knowledge. But when you say Gnostic story, what do you mean by that? What will you choose as a passion or responsibility? Assume you're 17 again. Oh my gosh, I have no idea. I mean, if I was 17 again, I would deal with some medical stuff earlier than I did. But I don't know if I would change anything else. Maybe I would have tried getting into professional wrestling sooner. Might have been fun to try it when I was a little bit younger and bounced a little bit better. Um, well, we all have to try to love one another, I suppose, Pablo. Brotherly love, part of Freemasonry for a reason, right? Um, I mean, I think that one thing that Freemasonry does teach us is to make sure that we are respectful and view everybody, regardless of their culture or their, religion or their age or their whatever language, first and foremost, ultimately as a place of, as a brother of the dust, as a son of Adam, if you will. I'd like to redo my kickboxing career. I mean, that makes sense, and maybe who knows, you try it again with some new knowledge. But I do think sometimes this idea of wanting to redo things, ultimately, I think that can be kind of a fool's errand because you'll drive yourself insane. And who knows, right? There's no guarantee that if you were to, um, if you were to, let's say, redo your kickboxing career and think you'll figure it out from past mistakes, you may very well end up making a whole new set of mistakes and not be in any better of a position. I think it's one of those things where ultimately, in my opinion, maybe things happen the way they are supposed to be. Go with your dreams is always good advice, as much as possible. I'm asking because I'm sure I have to choose my parents' dream, my own. I mean, it's tough to say, Adit, because I don't know your situation. I mean, it's possible to, especially if you're young, to do both for the time being, right? Like, if, I don't know, like, let's say your parents want you to go to medical school and you want to be a musician, you can go to medical school and still practice the guitar, and still, spend your weekends performing and see what you can do and see which one pans out. You're young enough that you can do a lot of things. Um, and because of that, maybe you don't have to decide. Maybe you can decide both. You're young enough that you can make mistakes and it'll be okay, right? Although I suppose it's okay to make mistakes at any age, but um, when you're young especially, you can make mistakes and it'll be okay. I'm sorry about that, Nevada. It always sucks to lose contact with your family, um, especially with your father. I'm sorry to hear that. Maybe over time you'll reconnect. It's always very possible. Is it true that your kids and Freemasons' kids? So many Masonic lodges, not every Masonic lodge, but many Masonic lodges will have scholarships, which they will provide funding um, to students going into university or going into college, um, to help them with their expenses. Some, it depends on how much money the lodge has, but it doesn't always necessarily go to the kids of Masons. Sometimes they'll prioritize that, so they'll have a scholarship fund, and they'll send a letter to the school and say, we would like the money to first and foremost go to the children of Masons or the grandchildren of Masons, whatever it might be. But sometimes lodges will just say, we just want it to go to anybody. that the school decides, or they'll base it on grades, or they'll base it on a million other things. So it's not a guarantee, but many Masonic lodges do have scholarship funds and do help people as they're going through school. Um, it's one of those things, and many Masonic bodies and charities actually provide a lot of funding to universities in general for new programs and services. Um, no, there's no clause. What we what we benefit is the fact that we're able to help other people, which is a benefit. I mean, the society as a whole benefits in that you now have smarter people, you now have people with more education coming out of the system, which means they can contribute more to the community. But the other thing to keep in mind is, I mean, I suppose it does provide some pretty decent advertisement for us. It's mentioned, right, in the programs and stuff, the different scholarships, and it'll say from the Masons of so and so, from the Masons of Windsor, from the Masons of wherever. So that's really, really cool, and really awesome to see. But ultimately, it's just, you want to make people feel good. You want to contribute to your community. And so, in my humble opinion, that's what we gain from it, which I think is a beautiful thing. Not everything in life, Dominus, has a catch. Well, I mean, they're not invited to join the lodge at all. First of all, no one is ever invited to join the lodge. So at no point has anybody received, at least I've never heard of it, and I would be not comfortable with it if it were to happen. Has anybody received a scholarship and then been invited to join the lodge, right? That's not how it works. So no. I mean, they may decide after they want to join, and maybe the reason they decide they want to join is because they got a scholarship and it put Freemasonry into their minds, and that's great. That'd be wonderful, but there's not an expectation of joining the lodge if you get a scholarship. That would be against the idea of joining of your own free will and accord. You shouldn't be joining the lodge because you want to get whatever it is you want to get. You joining the lodge because you got a scholarship. Thank you. I don't always feel good for my age, but I appreciate that nonetheless. And thank you for being here, Barry's Money. I hope you're doing well. Please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, please let me know. We got hearts. Is that Smokey the Clown? If that is Smokey, welcome. Thank you for being here. I hope your phone is back to working. Um, Maybe the reason it appears so perfect on the surface level is because it is actually all surface level. And maybe this idea of strange affiliations and weird investments is just a bunch of nonsense on social media. I don't even know what that means. I mean, most Masonic lodges, I don't even know if they have investment portfolios. Some do, some don't. It just depends on how much money they have to invest, right? But they're all self-funded. Like in many of my Masonic lodges, it's just we have a financial advisor and we give a percentage of investment, to him every year, or we draw from it as well. I'm sure there are Mr. Inappropriate. Human nature is such that Freemasons are going to struggle with the same problems that anybody else. Um, so there'll be alcoholic Freemasons, there'll be Freemasons suffering from other diseases, from mental health conditions, from physical health conditions, from mistakes that they've made in their life. Hopefully they find a way to bounce back from those things. Has to be the goal. Freemasonry is not political, so we're not funding anybody who's political. Individual Masons may, of their own free will and accord, in their personal life, donate to political parties. Like I donated to a lot of political groups. I was political for many years. I'm more of a outsider now, or a civilian. But yeah, I was involved with a lot of political work, but that was separate from my time in Freemasonry. He almost certainly was not. I'd be amazed if he was, Dominus, because They should not be making political donations. Now, again, individual members may have done so. I've been doing well, Smokey. Did you ever get your phone sorted out? Are you back to being able to be online again? It is not satanic worship. Freemasons do not worship anything, including Satan. Individual Masons will worship their own personal, religious beliefs, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, whatever it might be. But Freemasonry is not set up for worship. Hello, Luff. Thank you for being here. I didn't open up the Masonic Lodge, but I did visit several Masonic lodges, and I went to one just before they started installation, which was really, really cool. Um, it was beautiful. I loved visiting it. Mr. Inappropriate, if you want to get into the club of Freemasonry, the first step is to be one, ask one, which you've done. So what you need to do is find a Masonic lodge in your area and write them a letter, send them an email, approach them, and express your interest in joining. Um, and then eventually you'll be given an application, but it won't happen right away. You need to take the time to get to know them, and they need to get to know you. And at a certain point, they will give you an application form to fill out and perhaps offer you some sponsors. But the first step is you approach them, express your interest in joining, and let them get to know you. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would I rank Freemasonry based on transparency? I mean, 9. Because obviously there are elements of Freemasonry that are private, that are esoteric, the purpose of which I've discussed. But I mean, that's such a small part of Freemasonry altogether. Um, right? The fact that you can go to any building that's Masonic, and almost any building, and see the square and compasses on there and hear it referred to as a Masonic building. I mean, it's hard to see how we can be more transparent without removing the private elements that create the bonds of brotherhood. Scroll up a little bit. Not yet, will be this month. All right, I look forward to seeing you get your internet back. Everybody who get the chance, check out Smokey the Clown's website, YouTube stream. He streams pretty regularly. He's a cool dude. Go to at Smokey the Clown W8P. Go to at Smokey the Clown. Subscribe to his channel. He's a cool dude. I mean, Freemasonry is not secretive, but there are private elements to it. Milton. Again, we talked about this before. There are two ways to create bonds of brotherhood. Shared information or shared knowledge. Shared knowledge or shared experiences. Private ceremonies or rituals provide for both. I could not. Part of the problem is Mr. Inappropriate. I don't know you, right? And I couldn't really recommend Mr. Inappropriate. But also, if you're not part of the lodge to which you're applying, that's really irrelevant. But you don't need a letter of recommendation. What you need to do is just go to the Masonic Lodge, express your interest in joining, and you go from there. No, there is no next step for Masonry, right? Illuminati doesn't really exist anymore. It has been relevant for almost 100 years, give or take. Um, Freemasonry and Illuminati are not connected. But no Freemasonry, and don't think about Freemasonry in terms of steps, right? That's not the right way to think about it at all. Just focus on being the best Freemason you can be, not this idea of what comes next, because you're going to be disappointed. You can join appendant bodies, like you can join the Scottish Rite, the York Rite, the Shrine, but the better thing to do is just focus on day by day, moment by moment, what you can do to be the best Freemason in that moment without thinking about the next steps. That gets kind of silly, and it kind of starts to feel like you're on a treadmill. Awesome. Then maybe if you're interested in joining, talk to London about joining. Um, I mean, Illuminati was an organization, right? It was founded in 1776 by Adam Weishaupt in Bavaria, if I recall correctly. I don't know much about the ideology behind the Illuminati. I think he was very much focused on, more so than anything else, was more focused on kind of esotericism. You're from American Lodge number 57, Barry's Money? Well, welcome. Thank you for being here. Oh, Randall with the jokes. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but I'm happy to be here nonetheless. No, Michael McCart, Freemasonry and Illuminati are not the same thing. They are actually completely different things. So, no, that is incorrect. And why do you think that is the case, though, out of curiosity? Michael McCart. Don't forget, Michael McCart, please hit like, please hit subscribe. I would be truly, truly appreciative. You can, Milton. I actually belong to 5 Masonic lodges. So 3 in Ontario, 1 in Texas, 1 in Israel. And I mean, some people, you can also belong to several appendant bodies. So you can be a Scottish Rite Mason, a York Rite Mason, and a Shriner. That happens very frequently as well. You're part of the Kingman Masonic Lodge in Arizona? Nice. I've been to Arizona once, twice, through Phoenix. I went to Nogales for a special Masonic event, which was an absolute blast. I loved it. I'd love to get back to Arizona at some point if I could, because it was just so beautiful. Um, I remember that drive going from Phoenix to Nogales, basically through the desert. It was really beautiful and really pretty. I remember how it looked. What would you say, Dominus, is the main element of the Illuminati ideology? What does the ideology stress most? It was even hot when I was there, and I was there in winter, and I'm someone who doesn't like the heat, so I don't think I would have enjoyed it too much, to be honest. Living there, I think I'd find the heat to be way too much, but what's today's topic? It's going to be about my trip to South Africa. But I'm going to wait for the first 60 minutes. Obviously, the first 60 minutes we just hang out and chat about whatever. And then the second 60 minutes when we have the specific talking points. Um, Same. Okay, so what is the one power to which the Illuminati kind of believe in or represent? Again, keep in mind this is the Illuminati. Freemasonry is completely different. Freemasonry does not believe, Freemasonry is not a religion. It allows each individual to determine their own religious beliefs, um, more so than anything else, right? Hello, icosahedron. It's going well. I'm cooking up. Well, right now, what I'm cooking up is just chatting about Freemasonry, and in about 15 minutes to an hour, 15 minutes to 20 minutes, going to start talking about my trip to South Africa. I got a big nose. What can I say? Please hit like and subscribe nonetheless. Well, I definitely don't want that. I don't think it's possible to have that, Dominus, to be honest. I don't think we'll ever get to a point where we can have universal control or one group controlling the world. I think there's too many competing interests that are all going to be pushing against one another. So I don't think that's possible. And Freemasonry, for the record, does not want that. A lot of people think Freemasons are wanting, one world order. No, Freemasonry itself does not even have one world order, let alone trying to apply that to the world at large, right? Freemasonry is jurisdictional. I don't think it is. I don't think it'd be possible. There's too many competing interests. Anytime one group tried to, have a controlling stake in global affairs, other groups will pop up to try to limit that controlling stake. So I'm sure they do. I did not get to see much of it because I was so busy dealing with Masonic stuff. I mean, if you count the Masons, sure. But if you don't count the Masons, then I did not get to see a lot of it. I wish I could have seen more. I mean, there was a lot of cats. That was really cool because I love cats. Thank you, Courtney. It was a lot of fun. I was definitely jet lagged, but I still enjoyed it quite a bit. And now here I be. So thank you so much for hanging out. I hope you're doing well. I hope your brethren are doing well. Tell them all I say hello. I mean, money controls much of the world, but not all of it. And again, there's enough competing interests. Like every time somebody tries to get a controlling stake using money, somebody else pops up and just gets more money themselves and pushes against it, right? No, Mr. Inappropriate. Freemasonry will never make you do anything illegal to prove yourself. If anybody ever asks you to do that and claims to be Freemasons, they are scamming you or they are lying to you or they are pranking you. No. One thing we're taught within Freemasonry very early on is almost right away is we are expected to be compliant with and obey the laws of the countries in which we live and in which we are located. And that's one thing I always talk about when I'm traveling. I always say, like, we have a responsibility to make sure, as much as possible, that when we're traveling, we are aware of the laws in the country in which we are living. And we need to make sure, while we're doing that, that we are being compliant with those laws, whether it be through customs or in the city itself. That is not true, Dominus. I don't think anybody, including the Illuminati, which doesn't exist, controls the presidents. Um, so, what do I actually believe in being a Freemason? I mean, ultimately, what you believe as a Freemason is you believe it's worth spending time with other people. That's what you believe, and that I think is the most important thing. Um, that it's worth spending time with other people. It's a club, it's a group. We should, Mr. Inappropriate. We don't, but we should. Because that'd be a lot of fun. We sometimes have softball games against one another. That happens very often, and that's really cool. But yeah, I wish we spent more time. I think we and Freemasonry need to recognize that the time at which Freemasonry was the biggest was also the time during which civil institutions, as in general, were the biggest. So what I mean by that is we should not fear the idea of other civic groups or other social groups. We should not fear the idea that they will grow big. They're not going to take anything away from us, right? They're not going to take our membership away. As Knights of Columbus grows, so too will Freemasonry. I mean, Mr. Inappropriate, if you are looking to make friends and meet people, then by all means, I think that can be a great way to make friends is joining Freemasonry. It's not the only way, it's not the exclusive way, but it can be a great way to do so. So I hope you'll consider doing it. Pumpkin Spice, welcome. Thank you for being here. And I hope that you are doing well. I hope you're having a great day. You're welcome, Mr. Inappropriate. I do my best. If you want to support the channel, obviously liking and subscribing is a big way to do so. Sharing this stream with other people helps out quite a bit. Supporting me on Patreon helps me quite a bit as well. And I would be grateful for all of the above. And I hope you're having an excellent day. Thank you for that. I'm getting close to 4,050 subs. I'm hoping to get to 5,000 soon. So we're just going to keep working on it and keep doing our best. One subscriber at a time. From which state I am? I am actually not from a state. I am Canadian. So Ontario, which is very close to Michigan. Right? Freemasonry exists in the United States. It also exists in Canada. Also exists around the world. Oops. What about you, Arian Patel 2514? Where are you from? And do you have any thoughts on Freemasonry? Positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. Why is this not working? There we go. We're going to give this a couple more minutes. As I always say, the first 60 minutes, I don't talk about anything specific. I just hang out and chat about kind of whatever. It's the second 60 minutes I have specific talking points. In this case, talking about my trip to South Africa, some insights I gathered during my trip about Freemasonry that I want to share. But first, we hang out, wait to see who joins. And if you don't want to talk about Freemasonry, but there's other things you want to mention, by all means, it's been a hell of a year for scary movies. And as some people know, I love scary movies. We got The Backrooms coming out, which looks really good. Obsession coming out as well, looks really good. So there's a lot of really, really great things coming out that I can't wait to check out. So the purpose of this channel is to promote the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant um, in the communities in which it's located, as well as sharing stories of Masonic interest, as well as talking about, or as well as turning my passion into profession. My passion being Freemasonry, my profession being content creation. Um, it looks really good. The Backrooms, it looks incredible. Nice bag of Cheetos and Diet Coke. Nothing's wrong with that. Although make sure you add some fruits and veggies in there as well at some point, Courtney. Yeah, no, I want to see Backrooms. I mean, the Backrooms videos on YouTube are pretty great. So that is the purpose of my channel area, and ultimately is to turn my passion, Freemasonry, into profession, content creation. And if you want to support me on that, hit the like button and the subscribe button. Help me get to 4,050 subs. Hello, Sam Chiro. Thank you for being here, Sam Chiro. Welcome back. Good to see you again. How is your day treating you? I'm hoping it's going well for you. By the way, I haven't had any updates yet when it comes to my um, haven't had any updates yet when it comes to my potential kidney donation. We're still waiting to hear a few more things, but I will keep you guys informed as I go through the process, believe me. So you'll hear about more stuff as it goes. Uh, I loved Cape Town. It was beautiful. I'm going to talk about that in about 10, 15 minutes. I thought Cape Town was absolutely beautiful. It was really, really cool. I was grateful to see it. And yeah, I loved it. I hope I can donate, but I can't. Hey, Sam, if you can't donate, I completely understand. Just hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, sharing the stream with others, follow me on social media. Believe me, all of that stuff helps out big time. and I would be truly grateful. And that's all I need. I completely understand if you can't donate though. Just being here is very helpful. You saw me in a museum. Like, are you saying I look like a Neanderthal? Because many people have pointed that out, not just you. What am I doing? I'm chatting about Freemasonry. What I will be chatting about very soon is my trip to South Africa, which was incredible. But that will be later. Right now, I'm just hanging out, talking about, answering questions from people. So if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, I'd love to hear them. I mean, I did not travel through the mountain passes at night. I basically slept at night because I was so exhausted. But I will say, to me, it felt very safe. Now, again, saying that, obviously, I did my best to be smart, listen to local guides, keep all of my valuables, especially my travel documentation, locked up in the hotel safe and not leave with it. So, it was one of those things um, where I always did my best to be smart and be safe and be self-aware, but I always felt very safe, for the record. You want to know what is your secret at 2 a.m.? In terms of tipping, I mean, I try to just tip regularly as I would for anybody else. I never had to have anybody guard my car, but for hotel staff or whatever it is, you try to tip respectfully. Part of it is I try to remember, right, traveling, I represent Freemasonry, so I don't want to not tip anything because I want to make sure that people have fond memories of me as a Freemason and don't think we don't support, local workers. But you also have to keep in mind there is a budget at play. There's only so much you can afford to spend. Tips do cut into other things you want to do. So what is your secret, Sandwichiro? Oops, sorry about that. And to everybody else who's just joining us, jump in the chat. Any thoughts on Freemasonry, let me know. Hello, Black Hole. Thank you for joining as well. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. Okay, so you're about 12 hours ahead, give or take. So you should be sleeping at this point. But nonetheless, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Malaysia. Never been to Malaysia, but I'd love to visit. I'm sure it'd be incredible. Um, I'm sure it'd be a wonderful place to visit. There is Freemasonry in Malaysia, though I know very little about it. So it would be fun to learn more about Freemasonry in Malaysia, without a doubt. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you being here. As always, I appreciate the support. Again, another way you can support if you can't afford to necessarily share, to donate, is you can just share the stream with other people. Send them a message with the link so they can watch. Because that stuff helps out big time, believe me. We're going to give it 5 more minutes, and we're going to switch over and again start talking about Freemasonry. Start talking about my trip to South Africa, which I wrote about on Medium. So you can find the story on medium.com/@Adamson-Cameron. And I hope that you guys will check that out. I mean, no, we're not the same. I've always said Canada is the greatest country in the world, in part because we have the greatest neighbors in the world. I do believe that. But ultimately, we're different cultures. We have different, it's not that we're obviously crazy different, but we are different. Our countries are different sizes. Our cultures are different. Our history is vastly different. And so, yeah, no, I think there's a lot of differences between the two cultures. Masonically as well, there's differences. In Canada, it's primarily emulation ritual, which derived from United Kingdom. In America, it's very often what's called York or Preston Webb ritual. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to start doing those again. People really like those, and I haven't done them for a while, so I got to get back to doing those because people seem to really enjoy see me do push-ups. And they're fun, and we as Freemasons should care about our health. Nice. This isn't a plug because I don't know anything about his channel, but I will encourage people check out Sammy Chiro's channel. And if you enjoy his content and you think he's doing good stuff, then yeah, sub to him. Absolutely. I can't speak to what he talks about, but check it out, right? And if you enjoy it, sub. You can even take a few minutes to leave this stream, click on his link and go and sub on his channel. Then come back and find me. Sticky, welcome. I mean, I don't think so, but okay. We're going to keep waiting, keep hanging out, wait to see who joins. As always, if you're new to the channel, please hit like, please hit subscribe. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, let me know. We're going to give it another couple minutes, then we'll start on the discussion on my trip to beautiful, beautiful Cape Town, South Africa, and insights I gleaned. Well, then 33 subs. Hey, everybody starts with 0 and you just grow from there. So I wish you best of luck and best of success in growth. We all start with 0. So the fact that you got 33, you should be proud of that. I mean, Mr. Beast in his first year, I think he got like 26 subs or something. So, there you go. It just takes time. It takes time and it takes effort. It takes being willing to get your butt kicked a little bit, but that's okay. And 33 is awesome, so keep up the good work. Well, then there's a reason for that. Maybe stop doing whatever you're doing that gets you banned would perhaps be the best solution to that particular problem. We're just going to give it a couple more minutes. I don't know if anybody saw, but right now, according to CNN, Iran threatens to retaliate after U.S. strikes on launch sites and boats. So unfortunately, as much as we like to think that maybe things are going to get better in the Middle East, there's still significant tensions. That actually was relevant to my trip. I'm going to talk about why in a moment. The idea that, and it's unfortunate, but the idea that we as Freemasons, or me as a Freemason, can ignore the political, economic, military situation around the world is just not the case. And I'm going to talk about why that is in a moment. So, And actually, there's a really good article about this from CNN, which we're going to talk about in a second. Hello, Kenobi. Welcome back. Thank you for being here once again. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a great day. And I hope you'll hit the like button if you've not done so yet. Consider a super chat, all that good jazz would be truly, truly appreciated. Well, I'm not going to lend you $10, and you shouldn't ask people on social media to lend you $10. You can create your own channel and ask people to super chat you, but that's a different thing altogether, because that's their profession. Thank you for the blessings. All right, let's talk about my wonderful trip to South Africa. This is a story I wrote on Medium. You can find it through my Medium channel. It's medium.com/Adamson-Cameron. So I started this the way I start a lot of these articles regarding my travels. To be a Mason is to be a traveler. We at Screen Comes Promotions consider ourselves professional travelers. I consider myself a professional traveler. Travel and visitation is an incredibly important part of the Masonic experience. It is also a very important part of life. As Anthony Bourdain stated, if I'm an advocate for anything, it's to move as far as you can, as much as you can, across the ocean or simply across the river. The extent to which you can walk in someone else's shoes, or at least eat their food, or sit in their lodge, it's a plus for everybody. In May 2026, Grand Comes Promotions traveled to Cape Town, South Africa, during the 20th World Conference of Regular Grand Lodges. The entire trip was incredible, starting with the flights to and from Cape Town, South Africa. These flights included layovers in Montreal, Doha, and New York. These flights also included a personal record. The longest flight I ever took so far was from Doha to New York. It was a connecting flight, and it was at 13 hours in length. So it was by far and away the longest flight I ever took. I've discussed on YouTube, the characteristics of Masonic travel. Making sure when you're traveling, you have your Masonic dues cards, your Masonic ID. Make sure you're aware of which jurisdictions are regular versus clandestine or irregular, and making sure you are connecting first and foremost with the regular lodges. But it's also the responsibility of Masons to travel in a manner that is respectful of the countries and places to which or through which they are traveling, right? And that created some very unique experiences on this trip. First of all, because my trip to Cape Town included a stopover in Doha, Qatar, which right now is listed, in the Canadian government. Canadian travel advisory actually says not to visit Qatar at the moment due to the tensions in the Middle East and the possibility of the Iran conflict spreading. I still did it, but because of the warning and because I want to be responsible, I did register through the Government of Canada with registration of Canadian Abroad Services. I let them know the length of time I would be in Qatar, where I would be staying, and how to get in touch with me. That way, if there was an emergency, if, let's say hostilities resumed, if active fighting resumed, the Government of Canada would at least know where I was and would be able to contact me with emergency instructions, whether it be shelter in place or go to the consul or, evacuate immediately. They would let me know what to do. I recommend everybody when you're traveling, register with the Registration of Canadians Abroad Service through the Government of Canada. If you're not Canadian, consider registering through your local government. It's a little thing, but I also think it's a Masonic thing to do because it's being responsible. It's letting the government know where you are and where to reach you if there's an emergency. I would have hated to have been in Qatar, hostilities resume, the flights are all canceled, and not only is it now I can't leave, but now I'm trying to get in touch with the consul or the government to let them know where I am. Better they know in advance where I am, and they can keep track and let me know if there's an emergency or contact an emergency contact here in Canada. I usually go on 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. So I'll next be on 1 a.m. Eastern, which would be like 1 p.m. your time. The other thing to keep in mind is I was in Cape Town, South Africa. There right now is in Central Africa an Ebola outbreak. I believe it is in Ivory Coast or Congo, excuse me, Democratic Republic of Congo. Um, right, making sure that when I traveled to South Africa, there were no layovers in any Central African countries that are experiencing the outbreak, or really, I just tried to avoid a layover in any other countries in Africa. Um, and when I was returning to both the United States, or through the United States and into Canada, both at American Customs and Canadian Customs, I was asked if I've been to any places in Africa that were experiencing the outbreak. And when I mentioned I'd been to South Africa, I was asked again or double checked, were you anywhere else in Africa outside of South Africa and Cape Town? And obviously that's to keep everybody safe. And it's my responsibility to be aware of these outbreaks and not to put myself in a position to get sick or put myself in a position where I could get other people sick. Um, that also brings up the value of making sure you're fully vaccinated as much as you can be, checking with your doctor, with your pharmacist for what type of vaccines are recommended when you're traveling based on the location. So take the time to be safe when you're traveling. It's the Masonic thing to do. It's the right thing to do. The other thing I thought of was the insight I had was this was the longest flights I've ever taken. It was the longest layovers I've ever taken. Um, and so it made me think about the importance of Freemasons taking care of ourselves during travel, while on the plane, during layovers and stops. It's incredibly important, I think, that we as Freemasons take care of ourselves during travel, because if we take care of ourselves during travel, it means we'll be prepared to take advantage of Masonic opportunities upon arrival. If we get to our location and we're super dehydrated and super tired and, super malnourished or whatever it might be, that's not going to lead to us being able to fully take advantage of the Masonic experiences or to truly enjoy the Masonic experiences. Um, Sam Churro, 1 p.m. Eastern. The Sunflower, this channel is dedicated to Freemasonry. So just remind people, tips for taking care of yourself, stay hydrated. Flying for long periods of time will dehydrate you. However, Courtney, I know you take long car rides. Driving for long periods of time can also dehydrate you. So stay hydrated, drink lots of water. Pay attention to your electrolytes as well, like, maybe Gatorade as well. Make sure you're paying attention to your electrolytes as well as your water and hydration. Try to stretch regularly, even while sitting. Rotate your arms, rotate your legs, your feet, rotate your neck and your head. Keep yourself stretching, keep yourself moving as much as possible. Whether it's a long plane ride or a long train ride or a long car ride. Bring healthy snacks when possible. Now, there's different rules about when you're entering a country, the type of food you can and cannot bring into the country. But still, as much as possible, eat healthy snacks while you're traveling. Um, Wear comfortable clothing, and always speak to a medical professional if you have any medical concerns related to travel. Like if you're concerned about being able to be in a car for long periods of time, if you can't sit for long periods of time, whatever it might be, speak to a doctor. And also, of course, be aware of all travel entry requirements. Um, Keep travel documents safe. Ensure vaccinations are up to date. Be aware of local currency conversions, mobile data requirements, etc. Like I mentioned above, I registered with the Canadian government that I was traveling abroad. Um, and I gave them my phone number to contact me in case of emergency. If I don't have data or I can't use my phone in the country I'm traveling to, what good is that, contact info? So you need to keep in mind. Sam Churro, I don't know what's going on. I don't think you're paying attention. 1 p.m. and 1 a.m. So the next trip will be 12 hours. The next live will be 12 hours from now. No, Rusty, they're not requirements to become a Freemason, but they are requirements to get the most out of Freemasonry, and especially when you travel. Um, right? And so, if you're traveling to a Masonic event, and let's say it's a 10-hour car ride to get there, or a 10-hour plane ride to get there, if you're showing up and you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to enjoy the experience as much, and you're not going to get as much out of it. Next time will be 1 a.m. Eastern. So those are requirements to get the most out of Freemasonry. Upon arrival in Cape Town, South Africa, after passing through customs and immediately grabbing a very necessary coffee, I immediately attended the Cape Town International Conference Center and met with several brethren from around the world visiting for the 20th World Conference of Regular Grand Lodges. I was amazed at the number of brethren in attendance. That brought me one insight, which is what we as Freemasons can do. The logistical challenges of gathering so many brethren, many of whom were most worshipful Grand Masters and distinguished guests, are great. I mean, there must have been over 200 Masons present from all around the world. So just think about the logistical challenges of organizing hotel rooms, venue space, flights, and every flight you have to consider visa requirements and passport requirements. Um, So, a lesson or an insight that we as Freemasons can take from the ability of the World Conference to overcome these logistical challenges. Um, Freemasonry can still do big and challenging things if we're willing to put in the work. I think very often, and it's unfortunate, but very often we have this tendency to believe, to think too small, to think that we as Freemasons can't do big things, can't do great things. Um, and I think that's not the case. Yes, it is absolutely, the bigger the thing you want to do, the more work it takes. The bigger the thing you want to do, the more effort you have to put into it. But if we are all willing to work hard, we can accomplish some great things and some big things still. They were all great brethren, absolutely. Another lesson that we can take from the World Conference, we are all in this together. The problems facing Freemasonry in my jurisdiction are not unique. The solutions to these problems are also not unique. It is up to Freemasons to use opportunities like the World Conference to discuss not simply the problems Freemasonry is facing, but the possible solutions to these problems. Right? One of the beautiful things about conferences like this is the fact that not simply it's a chance to meet people you would not meet, it's a chance to reconnect with old friends. It is also, more so than anything else, in my opinion, the chance to talk about solutions and to recognize that we have many solutions, that many lodges, many jurisdictions are facing the same problems or similar problems. And because of that, it is absolutely possible for us to find solutions if we work together and if we network with one another. While I was in Cape Town, I visited 3 Masonic buildings, and I toured one of them. The Pinelands Masonic Center in Pinelands, Cape Town, South Africa. There was a Co-Masonic Temple in Cape Town, South Africa, and there was the Good Hope Masonic Temple in Cape Town, South Africa, otherwise known as Good Hope Lodge. That's the regular lodge, the last one. I was lucky enough to tour the Good Hope Masonic Temple and was amazed at the beauty of that temple, as well as the incredible history represented therein. This history relates to both the history of Freemasonry, South Africa, and the history of Freemasonry in South Africa. One lesson from the Good Hope Masonic Temple is that hope remains. Approximately 100 years ago, that temple experienced a fire that destroyed much of the building and several statues within the building, except the statue representing hope. That's a little insight that's worth remembering. With the current challenges facing Freemasonry, it can be hard to feel hope for the future. The story of the statue reminds us that hope can survive even in the most difficult of circumstances. Another thing about my trip to South Africa reminded me of is how important port towns and sea travel are to the history of Freemasonry. particularly how important port towns and sea travel were to the expansion of Freemasonry outside of England. The port, the sea, and ships are omnipresent in South Africa. Like, when you're thinking about South Africa and when you're there, you can't help but think about the port. You can't think about help but think about sea travel. You can't help but think about seafaring ships and vessels. And it was through the port, the sea, and ships that Freemasonry first made its way to South Africa. As noted in a variety of sources, including Wikipedia, Masonic history, Freemasonry in South Africa was introduced in 1772 by Dutch sailor and Deputy Grand Master Abraham van der Weyden. So, another insight I gained from my trip to South Africa was the value and the importance of the port and the sea within Freemasonry, or to Freemasonry, to its expansion. My hotel, the Mojo Hotel, or Moho Hotel, is located next to the Mojo Market. It's an incredible place, an incredible market full of delicious food vendors, including biltong vendors, and if you know, you know, community events, artwork, and more. When I wasn't taking in Masonic sights, I was grabbing a coffee and snack or watching a free movie or performing stand-up comedy at the market. What was really cool about my time in the market was how many opportunities I had to speak with people about Freemasonry and why I was in Cape Town. The people were incredibly friendly, and this certainly helped make me feel comfortable speaking with them about Freemasonry. More than this, being able to discuss Freemasonry in a setting separate from the World Conference and from Masonic buildings reminded me that there are no exclusive Masonic or non-Masonic spaces. Anywhere I go, anywhere I travel, becomes a Masonic space because I'm a Freemason. That does not mean I or any Mason should be pushy or continue talking about Freemasonry to people who are not interested. It does mean Freemasons should be comfortable talking about Freemasonry in a variety of settings outside of typical Masonic places. It also means I was very happy to talk about Freemasonry and Scary Comes Promotions to a variety of South Africans at the Moho Market and in Ubers and on public transit. So again, I always kind of understood this, but because people in South Africa were so friendly, I think in a lot of ways it reminded me of this. If I'm traveling somewhere for a Masonic event, I don't have to exclusively talk about Freemasonry at the Masonic event. I can talk about Freemasonry in the hotel. I can talk about Freemasonry with the Uber driver as I go to the hotel. I can talk about Freemasonry at the Moho Market or at the marketplace or in the restaurants. I think that's a really cool. I think it's a really cool thing to keep in mind. Now, again, don't be pushy. Don't be a jerk about things. But there's no harm in being comfortable talking about it in a variety of settings. Just don't be a jerk about it. And I will say the people in Moho were very, very friendly. Moho Market, and were very interested in it. And when I brought it up, they were always happy to respond. Is true can. Oh, you'll be wasted very soon, Hypnobike. Hold on just one second. Let me get that for you, is true can. I'm trying to remember it now off the top of my head. I'll leave a link to the story as well from Medium so you can check it out directly. It was the second letter, and it stood for, if I recall correctly, intuitive. Let me see. Or open. I'm just pulling it up here. You think I'd be able to remember off the top of my head. Dun, dun, dun. Here it is. Personality assessments and Masonic performance. It was, so the second letter was N. Let's see. So the N personality trait stands for intuitive and is correlated to imagination, open-mindedness, and curiosity. This begs the question, are imaginative, open-minded, and curious people more likely to engage in positive Masonic performance and have an overall more positive Masonic experience? I will say Since I published this article, I've done this personality test with several more Freemasons, and with the exception of one, uh, they've all been active and they've all come back with an N personality trait on the second letter. So let me just, is true can leave this here. If you type that into the Medium search, I think you should be able to find it. But the second letter was N. Hello, the Brotherhood. Thank you for being here. That's one of many, Blackwell. I visited three, but Lodge of Good Hope was the one where I got to actually take a tour inside the building and see the rooms and meet the Masons there. Um, how often to go to meetings? It depends, but at a minimum 3 or 4 times a week. Now, it has dropped off a little bit because I was getting burnt out, but there was a time when I did 5 or 6 meetings in a row, and that's not including things like coffee club or mentoring nights, all of which add to the total number. Um, and artist, I ain't got to talk. The Lord defends me. I mean, that's a good attitude to have. If you think you're in the right, sometimes trying to defend yourself makes things worse. You're better to just let other people or the Lord kind of speak on your behalf, or fate, or pick your term. Um, yes, that is what some of my photos were from. No worries is true can. How often do I go to meetings? Very, very often, like I said. All right. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, the Moho Market. So, again, what was reminded of is there's always an opportunity to speak about Freemasonry. Um, and travel can provide us with a really special opportunity to do so because we'll be reaching people we will not usually reach and talking to people we will not usually get the chance to talk with. So maybe that is the best time to speak about Freemasonry, are on those occasions. Um, yeah, I mean, many of my photos were from my trip to South Africa. So, but no, I really loved my trip to South Africa. It was a beautiful place. The conference was incredible, and I think those are the main takeaways and insights that I had. First, paying attention to the news and traveling responsibly, registering when you're abroad, all that stuff is a good way to be responsible and safe. Paying attention to, for example, where can you travel, where can't you travel, and why, and knowing what's going on. Um, all the tips about taking care of oneself, staying hydrated, stretching regularly, bringing healthy snacks, wearing comfortable clothing, always speaking with medical professionals if you have any concerns, and having your travel documentation set up is incredibly important. Using conferences and events and meetings to inspire us to try big things and to talk about problems that are being faced and solutions that you can find. The value of hope and that it still exists. The value of port towns to the history of Freemasonry, and the fact that you don't need to treat Freemasonry as something exclusive or inclusive to a Masonic setting. You can talk about Freemasonry anywhere. Because if you're a Freemason, anywhere you go becomes a Masonic space by definition. Um, I've never been, actual Wilson, to the Grand Lodge of Ireland, Dublin, but I would love to go. Believe me, I think that would be incredible. I mean, what has Freemasonry done? I don't think I would think about it in terms of Canada as a country. I would say communities. I think anywhere that there is a Masonic lodge, it makes the community a better place. And a lot of times you're not going to see how, right? Like, I've known three Masonic brethren who would have been homeless were it not for Freemasons and Freemasonry stepping in and providing them with benevolence and providing them with assistance. And that's an incredibly important thing, right? Because, like, you think about, it doesn't just make the life of that brother better by keeping him in his home. It doesn't just make the life of that brother's family better by keeping them in their home. It makes the entire community better. That's one less person or one less family on the street. That's one less person or one less family that needs to use a shelter or take up shelter space or needs to use or avail themselves of government programs. You're not walking around these people on the street. I mean, all of that stuff makes a huge difference and is incredibly important. Um, Freemasonry provides a ton of money to charity. It helps people who are struggling emotionally and find supports and find help. But also, there's been all sorts of evidence that shows being part of a group or a community helps people physically feel better and be healthier and live longer, which means they're less likely to need to use medical resources, which can free those medical resources for other people. Um, it very often engages in community projects, cleaning up the streets, whatever it might be. And those are just a few of the ways, right? I think ultimately it also shows it helps economically by supporting local businesses. Very often lodges will attend local businesses for refreshments, for catering. I did, for example, in my lodge, an ice cream tasting where we brought in ice cream, a local ice cream shop, to provide different flavors of ice cream. It was great. It helped the ice cream shop financially, but it also helped them get the word out that they were there. We provide local space for artists to display their work, which I think is really incredible as well and something I'm grateful for. So yeah, there's a ton of ways that we support our communities, and by making our communities better, we make Canada better. In terms of Canada as a whole, I mean, Johnny MacDonald was a Freemason, so was Diefenbaker, so were many others. I mean, I'm a fan of John MacDonald myself as a prime minister. When you say VOD, I put a link to the article I wrote, Black Hole, on my channel, but I hope you'll follow me on Medium. That's really helpful to growing Square Income's promotions and to helping me turn my passion for Freemasonry into profession. But David Thompson, I hope that answered your questions. Ashley Wilson, please hit like and subscribe if you're new. I'm getting closer and closer to 4,050 subs. I'm about 4 away. Do I hold power in Freemasonry? Freemasonry is not really about power. That's not the way to think about it. But I would say no. I'm a worshipful master, so I hold some power in my lodge, but that's a very small amount. Freemasonry is relatively decentralized. There's not really any individual who holds a lot of power, which is a good thing, right? This idea that there's power structures in Freemasonry, I think it's really overexpressed. We're going to give it a bit more time, wait to see who joins. Please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, let me know. And that was what I want to talk about today, my beautiful trip to South Africa. You can find the discussion on medium.com. You can find the pictures on Instagram, my various channels, and Facebook. And you can see some discussion of my trip on this channel, on previous videos. So now let's just go back and anything you guys want to talk about. And we're going to keep hanging out, wait to see who joins. Thank you all for being here so far. And yeah, that is what I want to talk about, my beautiful trip to South Africa and the things I learned from it. Now, tomorrow, I think one thing I want to talk about is the National Preservation of Historic Places, because it is still Preservation Month. It's not going to be Preservation Month for much longer, but it is still Preservation Month right now, so I want to talk about that. Because our Masonic buildings are worthy of preservation. Another thing I want to talk about or mention is I've been talking a lot about increasing gas prices. One of the reasons I chose to travel when I did is because I don't know how much more gas is going to go up. But there's some reports it's going to go up quite significantly higher. That's going to affect the ability for Freemasons to take advantage of these opportunities. So better to do so now. And and let's wait to see who jumps on to say hello. We're not hailing Xenu Psyok, but thank you for being here nonetheless. I hope you're doing well. Please take a moment, hit like if you haven't done so yet. Consider a super chat, all that good jazz. Something else I want to talk about was this is a story from CNN that I want to talk about at some point. It's published today, I believe, 8 hours ago. We're living in the premium economy. The biggest economic buzzword of the last few years is K-shaped. CEOs and economists and lawmakers all use the letter K to describe the divergence between the haves and the have-nots in American economy, from the housing market to spending on gas. The wealthiest people in America have split from the poorest. The war in Iran is making it worse, squeezing low-income households that spend the largest portion of their income on gas and necessities. But it's now becoming clearer that the income distribution in America is not shaped like a K, and the letter is the wrong way to explain the economy. A new way of explaining America's economic puzzle is needed, the premium economy. More Americans have left the cramped, no-frills service of life in basic economy and moved to premium class. They can afford the nicer flights, better groceries, and fancier experiences of this upgraded section, but can't reach the high-touch, hot towel service of home ownership and retirement in the next class. Despite a growing chunk of people entering the ranks of upper middle class and even becoming millionaires, they feel like they're falling behind. That's because owning a home, the defining symbol of middle-class life in America, has drifted out of reach. Retiring like the baby boomers, whose wealth has grown faster than younger generations, also seems to be in jeopardy. So people are instead trading up where they can, spending their rising wages on the smaller, attainable perks they can afford in premium class. This shift has punished companies competing entirely on price, such as Spirit Airlines, Dollar General, while lifting the likes of Walmart and United Airlines that consumers perceive as higher quality. Consider last year, Delta and United accounted for more than 90% of the airline industry profits. People have been wanting to call the death of the consumer, but the consumer is still spending. It's much easier to label everything as a K-shaped economy. The upper middle class grew from 10% of families in 1979 to 31% in 2024. This group share of income almost doubled according to recent research from the American Enterprise Institute. Meanwhile, the portion of families who were classified as poor and lower middle class fell over the past 5 decades. The whole distribution has moved up. But the American dream of buying a home has disappeared for many younger generations. Nearly 40% of Americans do not own their home, so they missed out on soaring home values after the pandemic. Home prices have since ballooned to 5 times the average median income, trapping people in place. So new members of the middle class are redirecting their higher wages to spending on products and services they can't afford. Thank you, Minotaur. Travel, concerts, and other fun activities have replaced home ownership. Retail sales have also climbed. The consumer is still spending and working. If inflation pressures ease at some point, the K-shape in the economy could begin to flatten. They're also upgrading airlines, stores, and restaurants, resulting in no more Spirit Airlines. So what does this mean for Freemasonry? Why is this important? Well, I've said this before. Freemasonry does represent an expense in one's budget, right? If you want to be a Freemason, there is an expense to that. It could be anywhere between $25 a year at the cheapest to $300 a year at the most expensive. I've heard of some being up to $600 a year, right? And the question comes, how do we view the individual Freemason? How do they view Freemasonry? Do they view it as something they budget under necessities? Meaning it is something they consider they have to pay in the same way they have to pay for food, water, housing, medication. Is it considered a necessity? Is it considered a luxury? is it considered a premium benefit to your community? Because however you define it is how, you will pay for it. And this idea of a K-shaped economy or premium economy, as they said, people are willing to spend rising paychecks on little extra perks. They're willing to spend more to fly in premium class, right? They're willing to spend more on a little bit fancier food, on concerts. And they're willing to spend more on those things because they're not spending money on home ownership. They're not spending money on pensions. They're not spending money on those long-term investments that people in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s were making. The question is Freemasonry part of the premium economy? Is it something that people are willing to spend a little bit extra on in place of home ownership? Or is it something that will be part of that K shape where richer and richer people are able to afford the luxury of Freemasonry and pay for that, but people of lower and lower income levels, with the cost of rising food, rising fuel, rising gas, are no longer willing to spend on Freemasonry? And at what point does the K shape become sufficiently steep or sufficiently broad that we are no longer going to be in a place where Freemasonry is for everybody, but Freemasonry comes exclusively for those of a certain wealth level? I've talked about that a lot, but I think it's worth keeping in mind. I have a YouTube short. People pick on me because I'm on YouTube. If you're going to be on YouTube, people are going to pick on you. You get used to it, unfortunately. We're not a shadow government. I'm very sorry to disappoint you. But nonetheless, thank you for being here. How's it going? I mean, that's even for me when I flew, right? Like, one thing I noticed is, I will say this, when I was flying, you go through first class and business class to get to your seats. Every one of those first class and business class seats was taken. Um, a lot of people took the premium economy seats as well, or were willing to pay a little bit extra money to ensure they got a window seat or to ensure they got a seat to themselves. When I'm taking a Flixbus to go to a Masonic event in Chicago, very often people will purchase two seats so they know they have a spare seat next to them. Those are examples of premium economy in travel. Um, and again, as Masons, as we're traveling and getting to these places, are we willing to spend on premium? Is even being a Freemason a premium part of the economy? I think it'd be interesting to consider. All right, we're just going to keep hanging out now, wait to see who joins and who wants to jump in the chat to say hello. As always, any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, please let me know, positive, negative, or neutral. Wouldn't it be a bad idea? I mean, I should have called my wheelchair the Mason Mobile. And we're going to just keep hanging out, wait to see who joins. I should have called my wheelchair Mason Mobile, though. Unfortunately, the wheelchair's name is Gwendolyn, but Mason Mobile would have been a lot better. And let me know if you got anything from what I talked about. If you have any suggestions, maybe you have some travel tips as well that you'd like to share, which I hope you will. And for the time being, I'm just going to hang out and wait to see who joins. And we'll just wait, see if anyone else has anything they want to talk about. I don't mind just chilling, seeing who jumps on the chat. I enjoy streams like that where you just relax and see who wants to jump on and say hello. Nathan, wow, we're getting into deep questions. I mean, every Mason, I guess, will have his own opinion about that. Obviously, Freemasons who are Christians would say no. I'm not a Christian, so my suspicion is he was a very wise teacher, but I'm not sure I believe in the supernatural elements or religious elements of it. But Freemasonry welcomes men of all different beliefs, including those who are Christian, as well as Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, whatever else it might be. What about you? I don't know who David Koresh is, but no, I don't think. I mean, oh, that's the cult leader. No, I don't think that's. I think that's very dismissive. I think the difference is David Koresh was teaching some pretty horrible things, to my understanding of him, whereas it seems that Christianity has been a force for good in the world. Um, I don't want to be a reviler of anyone's religious beliefs or faith. So, I mean, that's true. People are naive. That is very, very true, which is unfortunate that people can be so naive, but it does happen. But I think a big part is what concerns me isn't so much naivety, it's this belief that, people know best. Like, the danger, being naive isn't a bad thing. It's being naive and being unaware that you're naive and thinking you know everything. That's where I think the true danger is. I do think Freemason can help people remember that they don't know everything, and there's value in being open minded to being open minded to being wrong. I don't think organized religion is bad for you. I think like everything else, human nature is such that I think human nature is such that anything has a capability to be used badly. And I think that includes, unfortunately, organized religion. But I think at its core, it's a good thing. So, but Nathan, why do you think organized religion is bad for you? I mean, I am going to disagree with you slightly on that, Nathan, but I think I know what you're trying to say. What I would say is ultimately, it's not so much that religion without sacrifice is the problem. I think almost anything without a sacrifice is the problem. I think if you have something that comes to you too easily, um, that comes to you too easily that you don't have to sacrifice for, I think that is where the problem is. I think, and I think that's an issue with Freemasonry as well. Now, Freemasonry is not a religion, but I think very often we've tried to make it too easy to be a part of it, too cheap to maintain your membership in. And if people aren't sacrificing for it, they're going to feel like it doesn't make a difference. Like, I think we need to be much better at making sure that we are, you know, that we make something sacrificial. When you sacrifice for something, you care about it more, I think. So, I guess that'd be my humble opinion on that. I think sacrifice creates a relationship, creates a bond, it helps people. I think sacrifice is a really good thing. So, and I think we in Freemasonry need to encourage sacrifice for Freemasonry as well. we're going to keep giving it a bit more time. But I think I've said it before, right? People always say as a joke, and I respond, and it's not so much meant exclusively as a joke, but I always respond. They'll say, "Oh, Freemasonry's sacrifice to the devil," or something silly like that. But my response has always been, the one thing we sacrifice in Freemasonry is our time, and I think that's completely fair. I think it's really important that we within Freemasonry are willing to sacrifice our time and our energies and our efforts. So yeah, that is my response on that. That's true. People very rarely are willing to practice their belief. And that people have talked about this before. And like, how do I put this? I, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. I'm probably going to get this wrong. I think that, so when you talk about like, what is it that you believe, right? And it could be in a religious context, it could be in a spiritual context. It could be in a practical day-to-day like context, your business life, whatever it is. I think ultimately belief is best judged based on one's actions and what they practice as opposed to what they say, right? Because you may say, I believe in treating people fairly, but then you may cheat people out of their money as a businessman, right? You may say, I believe in, I'm religious, I believe in God, but you may never do anything that demonstrates that belief in any meaningful way. Ultimately, I think our actions and what we're willing to sacrifice betrays our true beliefs. So, in my humble opinion. And so I think the same thing is with Freemasonry as well. You may say, I'm a Freemason, but are you showing up to lodge? Are you dedicating yourself to lodge? Are you dedicating yourself to your brethren? If not, it's hard to say. Well, that's true. I mean, yeah, in that case, without question, the guy on the street corner yelling about the end times probably believes in what he's saying almost more so than anybody else, especially because he's probably willing to sacrifice or has sacrificed a lot for that belief. And I mean, in fairness, if you believed the end times were coming and it was your responsibility to warn people of them, that would probably encourage you to make a lot of sacrifices. But then you have to ask the question, right? So there you I think can make the assumption that the belief is legitimate, like he legitimately believes it. But then the question becomes, is that belief grounded on anything real, grounded on anything true? Is that belief something that is actually useful and relevant? And in that case, probably not, unfortunately. So, or fortunately, I should say, right? So you need to keep that in mind as well. I mean, I tend to and agree with that as well, Nathan. I don't think anybody can be sure or should be sure. I'm very hesitant about being sure of any of that stuff. So I'm not a huge fan of that. But again, that's me personally. If again, you can be a Christian and a Freemason, Muslim and Freemason, Jewish and Freemason, and you can be absolutely sure that your belief is correct. And I think more power to you. It's just for me, I always have a hard time with the assuredness of kind of religious beliefs, let's say. We're just going to keep hanging out to see who joins. I mean, I don't think I'm a bottom feeding fraternity member. I'm not the top either, but I don't want to be either the bottom or the top. I'm happy where I'm at right now. But I've been to enough Masonic events around the world. It's very hard for me to imagine I am a quote unquote kept in the dark. It'd be hard to keep me in the dark. I'm pretty much a pain in the ass, and I like to know what's going on all the time. It wouldn't be funny. It would just be, I guess that's the way it is. Who knows? Maybe we'll find out that they are. Nobody's going to know for sure until we, make it to the next life. So I guess we'll see. I would think the supreme being or the higher power is beyond any particular ethnicity or background. My supreme being, I've said this before, is the rational nature of the universe as expressed through science. So there you go. Well, people who aren't even part of the club don't know what they're talking about. I mean, the example I've given, I've used this a million times, is imagine you know everything there is to know about bicycles. You've studied bicycles, you've read about them, you know the history of them, but you've never actually ridden a bicycle or sat on one. You know very little. Freemasonry ultimately is a experiential thing. You truly need to be a part of Freemasonry to understand it. You can know and memorize dates and facts and figures. That's not the same thing as actually being part of it in a meaningful way. So you just need to keep that in mind. I mean, I don't know much about their heaven, but I've met many Muslims and they're good people and they're wonderful part of my fraternity. And I'm grateful that they are my brothers. And once again, we're just going to keep hanging out and keep waiting to see who joins. Please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, I'd love to hear them. So scientism, you could call it that if you want. Maybe rationalism is a better term for it. There's no particular religion that we have that I have associated with it, right? It's just my belief, but it is a supreme being. It's a supreme being that's made its will known to man, and it's a supreme being that favors virtue. So there you go. We're just gonna, as always, keep hanging out, keep waiting to see who joins. Please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, I'd love to hear them. And we're just going to keep relaxing. I wanted to do a bit of a longer stream because I had so much, I didn't get a chance to stream at all the last couple days, so, or the last week, I should say, while I was traveling. But I did get a lot of content for my written content, so that was really good. We're just going to keep hanging out, wait to see who joins. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. Dun, dun, dun. And any thoughts you guys have, let me know. And let's give it a bit more time. I'll be just hanging out, chatting about whatever, no rush. Any thoughts you guys have on Freemasonry, though, let me know. Positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear it. All right, we're just going to keep giving a bit more time and just wait to see who joins. Once again, please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, let me know. I'm happy to just hang out here, wait to see if any jumps in the chat. Please check out my work on Medium that I just wrote regarding my beautiful and wonderful trip to South Africa, which was really, really great. And yeah, give it some time. Let's see who joins and who wants to hang out and chat. Make sure that we got this still working. I will say on a side note, one thing I really loved is I was on my very, very long flights going to South Africa. The average flight was like 10 hours because I flew, let's say, Montreal to Doha, and then Doha to South Africa, and then back the other way. You're looking at 10 to 13-hour flights. So I definitely was feeling it. But I did get to watch a lot of movies. Qatar Air had some pretty great movies that you could watch on the entertainment system. I would say, in my opinion, one of the best movies I've seen, maybe in the last 10 years, was The Life of Chuck. It's based on a Stephen King story. It was available through the Qatar Air entertainment system. If you want to watch a really great life-affirming movie, a really good kind of, it's one of those melancholy movies, but I think it's very life-affirming. Believe me, check out The Life of Chuck. It was really great. I loved it a lot. I liked the song at the end, The Parting Glass, which is one of my favorite songs, the Masonic song as well, that I got to hear again for the first time in forever. That was like meeting an old friend. So I loved that. I loved the poem by Walt Whitman, I Contain Multitudes, as someone who really loves poetry. And I just thought it was really, really cool and really fun. So I thought it was really cool. And my suggestion to all of you guys is watch, if you can, The Life of Chuck. I also finally saw Sinners. Really good as well. Really good movie also. I think The Life of Chuck was better. When it comes to horror, for me, it starts and ends with slashers. That's my favorite. But I don't mind a good vampire film. Um, so, I don't know. Yeah, I do like... I did like Sinners. Reminded me a bit of Dusk Till Dawn. Good music as well. Go Lassie Go is a great song. So to hear it in the movie was really good. And Ryan Coogler is pretty awesome, so. I'd recommend everybody check both of those out. Not seeing any more messages. I'm not sure if anybody is just not commenting. If you're still there, leave a comment. Let me know how you're doing, or we'll just hang out and wait to see who else jumps on the chat to say hello. Carol, well, that's one comment to make. Maybe you don't like it, but you should. If not for you, then for all the people around you. So I'd recommend you do. I'm not a doctor, but I'd recommend you do for whatever it's worth. I'm gonna be that guy to recommend it. Oh, there's another Medium Day coming up, Friday, September 18th. I actually applied to be a speaker, so maybe I'll get a chance to be a speaker on Medium Day, April, Friday, September 18th. I'm grateful for YouTube. This is obviously where I focus the majority of the majority of my work, the majority of my content creation is through YouTube, but I do try to do so as well through Medium as much as possible. And I'm grateful to have finally written another story. It's been a little while. I hope you guys will check it out. And we're just gonna keep chilling, wait to see who jumps on to say hello. By the way, if you're like me and like scary movies, Backrooms is coming out very soon. It looks great. I can't wait to watch it. And we're just going to keep hanging out, wait to see who else jumps on. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, let me know. Ed Leesklin Coral where is it located? By the way, how do I pronounce your name? Is it Cuba or Cuba? What is the correct way to pronounce your name? Or your username at least. Is it a cub? Or it's a cub. All right, so Cuba. So Cuba 2368. That's what we're going to go with. Unless anyone wants to correct me, but that's what we're running with right now. So where is Ed Leedskallen Coral Castle, Florida? Where's that located? And we're going to keep hanging out, wait to see who joins. Anybody has any thoughts on Freemasonry? Positive, negative, or neutral, let me know. Not really getting a lot of comments right now, but that's okay. I'm just going to hang out and chill. Maybe the algorithm will pick it up. Don't forget, we'll be back on at 1 a.m. I forgot the town, but it's at the top of the Bermuda Triangle. I mean, so basically what you're trying to do is get rid of me. You're hoping I go to this Bermuda Triangle and just disappear, right? Is that the plan? I mean, I would love to visit the Bermuda Triangle. I think it'd be kind of fun as someone who loves scary movies. Uh, there was actually a great movie called Triangle, a great scary movie, which is kind of about the Bermuda Triangle. It came out a few years ago from, I think it was New Zealand. If you get the chance, I would recommend checking out that movie. It's called Triangle. It's on like Pluto TV. I think it was on Prime as well. No, Toaster Poodle, Freemasonry does not equal Satanism. Freemasonry does not really equal anything. Rather, every Freemason decides for himself what it equals. For me, Freemasonry equals the chance to make the world a better place for whatever it's worth. I mean, I agree, freaking toast, but you got to get used to being on stream. People are going to say a lot of nonsense. If you want to be on YouTube, you kind of got to get used to it. But how can something be at the top of the Bermuda? The Bermuda Triangle is in the middle of the ocean, isn't it? What could be at the top of it? I don't quite get how that would work. And freaking toast, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. I don't know if you read what I wrote or listened to what I was saying about my trip to um, Cape Town, South Africa. If you have any thoughts, please let me know. And Toaster Poodle, why do you say Freemasonry equals Satanism? My suspicion is it's just a statistical situation. If you take any triangle of sufficient size and plop it anywhere in the ocean, you're going to find a significant number of unexplained events just because there's so much ship traffic. It's human nature that there's going to be mistakes and accidents and sinking and whatever else it is. At least that's my suspicion. It's frequency bias, is what it's called. It's on ley lines. Ed was 5 feet and was dying from consumption. I mean, I'll look into it. It might be kind of fun. Again, I'm not one who believes in the supernatural necessarily, but I do find it interesting. So, um, and it's fun and it's cool to talk about. A lot of Masonic lodges are having a lot of success hosting special events about the supernatural, especially in Johnstown. So, I mean, like I said, one of the greatest examples of the success is is Johnstown Masonic Temple. It's incredible. So yeah, I think. I mean, I don't know if there would be any Masonic lodges. I should look into this. Any Masonic lodges anywhere near or close to the Bermuda Triangle, or if there's any islands in the Bermuda Triangle that have Masonic lodges. But it'd be really cool to visit and find out. I think that would be awesome and a lot of fun. Well, I'm less than 5 feet, so if he can get better, maybe I can get better too. Who knows? We're gonna give it a few more minutes. Wait to see who else jumps on to say hello. I will be um, again back on at 1 a.m. with some announcements of things we got coming up. So, I mean, I'm not sure if any of that stuff is relevant, right? I'm always, uh, I'm not one who believes in the secrets of the ancients, anything like that. I mean, I think that's going to be really fun and really cool and really enjoyable to talk about. But again, it's not something I take too seriously. And I think the danger for a lot of kind of the supernatural and things of that nature is when we start to take it too seriously. I think that's where the danger comes. Hello, Lex Animata. How's it going? Thank you for being here. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you'll hit that like button. Any thoughts you want to share? Anything you want to talk about? Again, I had a great time on my travels, but now I'm back. So yeah, let me know how you're doing. I'm going to say this. I don't know why there's a teen takeover happening at the moment in Chicago, but teenagers stop that because I'm going to Chicago soon, I think. So I don't know what a social credit score is. I don't think that exists in North America, and I think that's a good thing. I think I've heard of that in China. When you say good credit score, you do not. I will say though, I have recommended that we as Freemasons consider performing credit checks on membership. The reason being, or not a membership, but on um, credit checks on applicants. Because if you're applying to be a Freemason, there are costs associated with it. They may not be very high, but there are costs. There's yearly dues, things like that. And I think the danger is, um, if somebody's joining Freemasonry and they are really struggling financially, they may not be in a position where they can focus on Freemasonry because they need to take more shifts at work. They're stressed out about their financial situation. They can't afford to go to Masonic events or celebrations or whatever it might be. And because of that, and in those cases, I think it's really important that we let them know in advance, like there are financial considerations to this, both in terms of money you need to spend, dues, yearly dues and initiation fees, but also, our meetings might interfere with your ability to take overtime at work or to work more hours, or it may cost you money in terms of the gas to get to and from the lodge meeting. We may have special events where we charge ticket prices. And for all of the above, the question becomes, are you in a financially sound position that you're going to be able to focus on Freemasonry? So I'm one who believes it's actually not a bad idea to get a credit check on an applicant. Now, I don't think that that credit check should be, um, I don't think that that credit check should be, like if you have bad credit, that shouldn't mean you're automatically excluded. But I think if you do have not good credit, it's completely fair to to talk to the brother about the financial commitments that go along with being a Freemason and whether he's in a position to be able to afford that, yes or no, right? In the same way, I think I personally have said this before, we should have credit checks medical checks, and criminal record checks on new applicants. I think that's pretty valuable, in my humble opinion. We're going to be ending this stream soon, but let me know if you have anything else you want to talk about. Again, we'll give it another 10 minutes or so. Then we'll be ending this stream, but thank you all so much for being here. I hope you're all having a great day. And I hope you will check out my writing regarding my visit to Cape Town and the insights I gained, which I think can help you maybe with your Masonic experiences. You're not wrong, and that's always the danger, Rondo, between like in the application process, right? Which is, at what point does it become, stressful to the point that we're scaring new candidates away? Um, and the other alternative is you can just, as a general rule, without doing the credit check, still just speak to them in general terms and just explain there are financial costs with this. Again, both the direct cost of paying for your dues and the incorrect costs associated with, the gas to get to the lodge, the time you may have to take from overtime, whatever it might be. Um, and in those cases, I think it's maybe have that conversation whether you get the credit check or not. But I think the value of the credit check is it can let the brethren know, because it's very common for people to think they can do more than they can. Um, so it's very common for people, if they're struggling financially, they may hear the whole, lecture about there's financial commitments and be careful and don't spread yourself too thin. But are they going to truly understand it or respond to it? Or will they just say, yeah, sure, and ignore you, right? It's like health advice. Your doctor can tell you don't eat, fried foods until he's blue in the face. Whether he does or not, or whether you do or not, is a whole different can of tuna. Having that background check at least lets you know for sure. And maybe it gives the lodge one more piece of information on which and through which they can make the best decision. Right? The more information we have, I think the better. Do Freemasons, the firmament, not as I can speak for myself, not literally. I don't believe in the firmament. I believe the firmament is a good way to describe the heavens, but I don't believe it's literally a firmament, right? I believe we went to the moon, and I hope one day we make it to Mars and then beyond the solar system. Sun, that is something you should speak to a doctor about. I would suggest ASAP, because that can be very dangerous. So speak to a doctor. Because I know that can be dangerous. Well, Lex, that's not what I said, so you need to calm down a little bit. That is an issue as well that we need to figure out. Background checks, criminal record checks. Again, what I will say, though, is I don't think anything should be automatically disqualifying. Right? There are some people who would say if you have a criminal record of any sort, it's an automatic no. I don't believe in that. I do believe, though, that if you have a criminal record, you have a responsibility to, and let's say for the purposes of this, you have a criminal record and you're guilty, and there's no question about it. If you've tried your best to make amends, you've served your time in custody, you've gone to counseling to deal with the issues, you've paid restitution, whatever it might be, I don't think it should be an automatic denial. And with a credit check, I think it's the same thing. Even if you have bad credit, I don't think it should be an automatic denial. But I think it gives you more information through which you can better judge, will this be the right fit for this person, right? And again, if you decide at that time it's not because you need to get your financial affairs in order, that doesn't mean the person can't reapply to join in a year or 2 years later, as he's got his financial situation back into order once again. But you do want to be careful you're not disproportionately affecting a certain group. Black coffee is the best. I love black coffee. And sun, yes, caffeine might be good. Again, if you're feeling overly fatigued all the time and it's not normal, then maybe talk to a doctor. But I love coffee. Coffee is genuinely my favorite thing in the world. And son, did you hit the like and subscribe button? That's my question to you. If you've not done so yet, what are you waiting for? Help me get to 4,050. I'm just 4 subs away, so. My hope is depending on how well I do, I can get to over 5,000 sooner rather than later. Thank you, Sunflower. I'm grateful for that. Do you have any other thoughts on Freemasonry? Any questions? I'd love to hear them. And we're going to give this stream another probably 5-10 minutes. India, okay. There are many Masonic lodges in India. Came through with the British regiments at the time, if I recall correctly. I hope I'm bigger. I'm hoping bigger than everything, right? That's the goal. We're gonna keep seeing if we can grow this thing, Rondo. But it's thanks to people like you that help me grow this thing, and for which I'm truly grateful. You could make a sister organization called Imprisoned Masons. Well, no, we wouldn't do that. I mean, I have no issue at all with, again, if you have a criminal record joining Freemasonry. I just think we need to know what happened, what the record's about, and how you tried to change your life, and then let the lodge decide. But the most important thing is that the lodge decides based on having all of the information available, right? You don't want to allow because when you are joining Freemasonry, ultimately, and when the lodge is accepting somebody into Freemasonry, ultimately it's about making and taking a leap of faith, right? That's the truth. That's what Freemasonry is all about. It's about taking a leap of faith. You can never know fully and 100% if the person joining is going to be a good Freemason or not. You have to just take a leap of faith. But what you can do is try to limit how far and how big that leap is by getting as much information as you can about the person. And the more information you have about them, the more likely you are that the leap of faith will pay off positively. Now, again, you don't know for sure. You will never know for sure, right? But you can still try your best. And again, knowing about a criminal record, knowing about their credit, knowing about their health, all of those things can be incredibly valuable and incredibly important. Their health, because again, let's say they are going to have trouble sitting for a long period of time. If you know that in advance because of the medical check, the worshipful master can tell the person, look, sometimes our meetings can go for a few hours. It can be a long time. By all means, you can sit next to the door or sit in, in a more quiet spot. And if at any point you need to get up, stretch, move around, that's perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. Just let them know in advance. Have that information. No, I don't agree in drug testing members because once you are joined, then you've joined. The lodge has taken that leap of faith on you, and now it's up to you to demonstrate yourself worthy of that leap of faith. The lodge shouldn't have to babysit you um, after you've already joined. We have gay and straight Freemasons, which is perfectly fine. So there's nothing wrong with that. You can be gay, you can be straight. What Freemasonry judges is, are you a good and honorable person, and that's it. That's all that matters. Yeah, I heard about that. I didn't see it. To my understanding, that was a clandestine lodge and not a recognized lodge. I could be mistaken, but I think that was a clandestine lodge. No, a Mason did not make Mason jars. It was actually based on the gentleman's name who made them, but he was not a Mason himself. We are going to be, I keep saying ending the stream soon. People keep jumping on with questions, so I don't want to do a bit of a longer stream today. I mean, it could just be the design, the style. I can tell you my Masonic building has a ton and ton and ton of windows on them. It's actually a pain in the butt because we have so many windows. It affects our ability for heating and cooling and stuff because windows are a nightmare for those things. It just depends on the design and the cost. I mean, windows are expensive, right? You have to insulate them, all the rest of it. Maybe cinder blocks was the cheapest thing they could get at the time too to build them. But I mean, check out the Windsor Masonic Building. I have three Instagram accounts, but one of them deals specifically with Masonic buildings and the facades. I can assure you, there's not a lot of cinder blocks you're seeing there. Um, so just keep that in mind. I guess. But yeah, Kaba, check out my Instagram account is called at Masonic Buildings One. At Masonic Buildings One. And it's got a ton of pictures of beautiful Masonic buildings from all around the world. So please check it out if you get the chance. And we're going to give this, let's say, another 5 minutes. Then we'll be ending this stream. I'll be back on at 1 a.m. with announcements as to what I've got going on upcoming as well. So you can pay attention to that. Am I planning to buy a flag from the Supreme Council? Are they selling flags in Canada? No, I don't think so. I'm not sure precisely to what you're referring. I mean, do you mean the Supreme Council of Scottish Rite? A lot of actually, one thing I was interested in doing for a little while, we have our city hall very close to me, and for special events, they'll raise a different flag. Like they raised the Pride flag a few months ago. They raised, I think it was Ghana flag. They'll raise different flags for different special events and celebrations. And um, I was wondering if they would raise the flag for Freemasons, like raise a blue flag with the Masonic Square and compasses on it. I never bothered to ask them, but I think it'd be really cool if they would do that one day. I'm not sure. I think you're talking about Detroit, maybe? It has a ton of stained glass windows, I believe. So maybe Detroit? I'll check it out. Is it, Rondo, is it northern or southern Masonic jurisdiction? Do you know which? Or do you remember which? Because there's northern and southern Masonic jurisdiction, right? So I'm curious if you know which one. But I will look it up. I mean, there's a lot of Masonic lodges doing a lot of really incredible things for the 250th anniversary, in fairness, and it looks awesome. Or there's also, I mean, so definitely not Canadian, right? Keep in mind, because I'm Canadian Scottish Rite, my Supreme Council is Supreme Council of Canada, which somewhat resembles the Southern Masonic jurisdiction. Probably, I would think Washington, actually, which is DC, which I think is the Northern Masonic jurisdiction. Oh, all right, guys, we're going to end this stream. Could be Southern jurisdiction. Um, all right, guys, we are going to end this stream now. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I hope you guys all have an excellent rest of your day. Be back on at 1 a.m. I will see you guys very soon. Have an excellent, excellent rest of your day. Check out my Medium article, which I wrote all about, uh, my trip to South Africa, the insights I gained from it, which I hope you can apply to your Masonic experiences and your travel experiences in general. And thank you all so much for being here. Have an excellent rest of your day. Let me see now if I can do this.